the beginning, stock cars outran the police to deliver the hooch to our ancestors. So sweet. Are you ready for a trip down victory lane, where Richard Petty's winnings were insane and Dale Earnhardt put everyone to shame? Canadian Junior Handley is in the Hall of Fame. Live from Haldeman County, it's time for the Driver in Deep podcast. Are you ready?
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us for episode 36 of Driver in Deep, brought to you by WingnutSports.com. You all know Alex Nagy, and I'm Mark McSporn. Today we have with us Luke Ramsay, who heads up the United Racing Series and now is heavily involved in the operation of Delaware Speedway. You know, Luke seems to keep piling up all the titles, Alex. I wonder if he knows there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, if he didn't, I bet you he knows now. Listen, Luke is involved in everybody on his team has been involved, and they've had a crazy summer. So we'll get into that with him. But you know what, Scooter? I don't know if you know this, but we're approaching 1,000 followers on the Facebook page.
Yeah, that's awesome. I knew we were getting close. And, I'm really not surprised. Although I am pretty sure, Alex, that you've been paying people.
Paying people? Why would I do that?
Well, I guess for the same reason, I can't get any of our guests to spill any dirt on you.
Maybe it's like I've been telling you, buddy. I'm clean.
Yeah, all right. Well, how about we leave that alone for now, and I'll just ask our listeners that have not visited our Facebook page to do just that by searching Facebook for Wingnut Sports and give us a like.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, and we'd really appreciate it. I know a lot of our listeners do already, but I know a lot don't, and if you can pass it along to your friends, we'll get that bumped up to 1,000. Maybe we'll have a prize or something like that. You can also follow us both on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Wingnut Sports. Or check us out on our website at wingnutsports.com, where you will also see show notes for each episode. And finally, if you're a YouTuber or a YouTube fan, search for Wingnut Sports and be sure to subscribe to our channel.
Yeah, now's a good time, because besides all the great news coming from Luke about the APC United Racing Series and the upgrades to Delaware Speedway, there was some not so great news today that Jukasa Motor Speedway is going to be permanently closed. And I know this is going to be difficult to talk about, but once we get Luke on here, we'll get into it.
Difficult to talk about for sure. Yeah, okay, we'll get into that once we get Luke on and we find out what's up with him and the APC series in Delaware and all that stuff. But before we do get to Luke, by the way, I have to say, sorry, Rick Verberne.
Why are you apologizing to Rick?
Because Rick is a listener of Driver in Deep. He's a great guy. He is a great racer. He's a crew chief at DJK Racing, DJ Kennington, a crew chief for Andrew Ranger this year, plus racing his own car. Great guy, great listener. And he was on social media looking forward to today's episode because of how Felice dismantled the Sabres.
Oh, God. That is so disingenuous. I can't even believe he said that. All I'm going to say is it was a great weekend for the Sabres. We beat the Oilers. We outplayed the Leafs a lot. And we didn't come up with the points in that one, but we got a great team, and I can't wait for this season to get going.
Like I said, sorry, Rick, it's not a good day to talk about the lowly Sabres.
Is he a Sabres fan, though?
Gosh, no.
Oh.
Him and DJ are both Leaf fans.
Oh,
they got it figured out.
Oh, well. All right. Well, how about our next episode?
Deal.
All right. So you want to get Luke on here?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hey, Luke. Welcome back to Driver in Deep. You're our first repeat guest, but with the wild summer you and your group have had, we wanted to get you back on. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Hey, guys. Happy to be here, and thanks for asking me to come on.
Yeah, like Mark said, Luke, thanks for joining us. As Mark said, your team had a crazy summer, not only with the United Racing Series, but also with the Delaware group taking over the operation of Delaware Speedway, which seemed to come together fairly quickly. Plus, of course, the mothership, the main business, is APC Canusa, where you folks sell a bunch of auto parts. And I'll bet it all happened so fast that you didn't even have a chance to absorb it all until the season ended, which is just recently.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to Alex. You and I speak probably once a week at the minimum, and I said I was going to take a couple of weeks or month for sure, and just get away from it all and collect my thoughts. It did. I mean, and I look back on it now, I don't know how we, the group pulled off, not myself. I mean, there's a lot of people that worked a lot harder than me, but how the group pulled off everything that we did in such a short period of time. But it was crazy. It was wild, but I think it was successful, and I wouldn't change it.
Of course, Luke, the United Racing Series with APC Tour has been around for a while now, and you've been involved in racing like long before the formation of the Late Model Series. I'm not trying to make you sound old or anything, but I'm sure being part of a team operating a racetrack must have been a huge eye-opener for you. How is that going? And is there one particular thing about running a racetrack that you've learned or have been surprised by to this point?
I think the biggest surprise to me was the amount of work that goes on behind the scenes and getting a facility ready for a race event. I had the 1 year of 2020 where we were leasing some racetracks, but really the facility was ready to go when we got there. And I see how much work Russ had to do behind the scenes as far as, cutting grass is one thing, but making sure the kitchen's ready to go, making sure the propane tanks are full, making sure the septic tanks are empty, getting porta potties cleaned out. It's a nonstop, and you redo it every week. And Russ has a process to get things done, and I'm sure all the other track owners and promoters have the same. And I cannot believe. And even after the event, right after, you want to get the garbage out of the facility that night, so you don't get the critters and the animals. And it's just a lot of stuff that goes on that you don't see when you show up when the gates open, type thing, and leave before the gates are closed. So that was a real eye opener for sure.
And all the time I told you about how much work it was to get ready for you guys, you'd never ever. Now you know.
Now I know. And I can tell you, picking up garbage when everyone's gone, you've had a great night on Friday night, and picking up the garbage isn't my most favorite thing to do, but it needs to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I mean, this has been covered recently while you were on with our friends at both Racetime Radio and with Adam and Clinton on Race Rivalz. But over the past month or so, the group made the decision, the Delaware group made a decision to do a partial repave and a few other projects at Delaware Speedway. Not to beat a dead horse, but can you touch on that and those upgrades for our listeners?
Hey, hang on a second here. Before we get to that, Alex, this is too good to pass up. I heard Luke's interview with Adam and Clinton that Alex was just referring to. And I do suggest our listeners go check it out, Race Rivalz, on the G-Force TV YouTube channel. But I would like to play a couple of clips before you answer that question, Luke. The first clip here is in reference to getting all the tracks together and finding common ground, which is a great thing, so you can all move forward. And here's a clip.
Alex Nagy, he's really the spearhead that got everyone in the room and is making this happen.
Alex has been around. He commands a bit of respect. What I like about Alex, I've worked so closely with him for so long with the NASCAR Pinty series, is the attention to, not even the attention to detail. That he expects things to go right. Like he's not watching over your shoulder all the time until you make a misstep. Then he's there to guide you in the right direction, throw some real sarcasm at you and make you feel about 4 inches tall. But then you step forward and do the right thing and everyone's happy again. He's just an interesting style of a leader.
Hang on a sec. What sarcasm? Where's he get that from?
I've never seen
it. After I heard this, I'm thinking, oh, great. Alex, your head can't get any bigger.
No doubt about that.
No, but fortunately, it was followed up by this.
Well, you never really have to know where you stand with Alex. He hits things head on, and, sometimes we don't do that enough in our world today. And, as far as feeling 4 inches tall, he's just trying to get you down to his height, Adam.
See, this is why we can be friends, Luke.
That's why we all get along with Alex.
That's great, Mark. Thank you.
Well, boy, did that ever take a turn.
Yeah, can we get Luke to answer the question? Now he probably forgets.
Well, in regards to Delaware, I mean, the upgrades, we're trying to work on the fan experience and the race experience and the product on the track.
And, there's lots of guys reached out and said, don't touch the track. Don't do anything. It's great. We love it. It's got character. But there was parts of that track, and Alex knows. I mean, we asked Alex to help us. Obviously, with the job that was done at Jukasa was second to none. And we reached out. There's parts of that track that were just worn out, and they needed to be addressed. It was going to cause problems for some big events. The wall was caving in the front straightaway. That had to be fixed. And parts of the racing surface, there was, just wasn't conducive to side-by-side racing. So we've paved most of the Alex, sorry.
No, you're right. I'll let you finish, and I just want to make a comment on what you said.
We paved most of the racing surface where the cars run. With cars outside of the groove, we didn't touch that. We're trying to stay within a budget. I actually was there last night, and Jamie Cox was doing some laps around there in a street vehicle. And it's going to be interesting because it's certainly very smooth. The dips are gone. But now when you go drop down to that cement, what we felt was the smooth part before, now you pick up the bumps on that. So I think it could be a second groove racetrack. We won't know until the cars get out there, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, so you never know. I mean, you said the surface at Jukasa was second to none. And yeah, we had huge, big time designers and consultants. And I'm going to tell you, until we had our first practice session, I was still scared to death because you don't know. But one thing, and actually Tim Bryant, friend Tim Bryant at down in Florida at Pensacola, he just did a partial repave as well because he had some track coming apart and saved a bunch of the character still. And I can tell you with the repave or the partial repave you guys did, and you just said it by dropping down into concrete, now that feels rough. I think that there's still so much character there, but again, you don't know until it happens, like you said. But I do believe that there will be two groove racing again, and I think it's going to work out great for you guys.
Well, that's what we're hoping for.
I attended the Pinty's Fall Brawl weekend, and I had a great time, I have to say. And with all these improvements, I really can't wait to go again next year. But Luke, here's the elephant in the room. You couldn't talk a lot about the 2022 APC Late Model Tour schedule in your previous interviews because everyone's been waiting to see what was going to happen with Jukasa Motor Speedway. So now, with the announcement today, which is Tuesday, that Jukasa is permanently closing, do you have a clearer path now, or is it still too early to know?
No, I mean, I think it brings some clarity to the situation. First off, let me say it's a shame to hear the news about Jukasa, and I'm sure it's a tough deal for a lot of people. And to Alex, who's put everything into that program over the last 6-7 years, it's a real shame. It's happened, and we got to move on. But I think it's definitely a blow to Canadian motorsports. But it does bring some clarity to what we're working with for 2022. I can tell you, I mean, we've been building an A plan and a B plan for the last couple of months because we didn't know what was going to happen. Now we do. We've taken that plan. We're working with the tracks as of this morning. I mean, we made a commitment in the meeting that we'd like to have our schedule out by December 1st. That allows the tracks to work on their home schedule. And I think we can hit those dates. So that I can tell you that an email's gone or is in the process of going out to the tracks and to get working, and stay tuned.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's great news that you're on top of it, and hopefully, people will find out soon where things stand for next year. But I would like to say, for me, it's really sad news too that Jukasa is not going to reopen. And besides, the amazing track, I'm going to miss so much from that place. Like, for example, even though he denies it, helping Alex Tagliani get his motorhome out of the mud in the campground, meeting so many other great fans of the sport, like Mike and Maggie, who are always right at the very front of the line to get in the campground, and even VIP Geoff. And I'm not going to say more about him, but all those that worked, or helped make Jukasa so great. Like the Hunsingers, like Kenny D's, Robin, even our colorblind flagman friend Gibber. I met all these people for the first time there, and it's also how Joni and I got to know Alex, you, and I'm going to say your better half, Sandy. Although I won't say that to her face. I don't want her head to get big. But also, of course, getting married to my beautiful wife Joni. In the pavilion there. Anyway, sorry, I digress. a little. I do have a question here for you, Luke. How is the closing of the facility going to impact not only the APC series, but motorsports industry in general?
Well, I just, before I answer the question, Mark, the one thing I meant to say and I didn't is that, we got to remember to be thankful for that we got those years with the track, that somebody made the investment, the hard work to get it going. I see a lot of comments on social media, and I think people need to remember that we did get to go back there again, which didn't seem possible. So very thankful for those years that we were there and the few races we got to have. As for moving forward, it's tough because I think it was such a great facility. It certainly put Ontario motorsports and Canadian motorsports on the map, and it had the attention of the people in the U.S. and the top teams for coming up for those Canadian nationals. I think there's opportunity. What else can we do? Can someone step up? Can the idea of the Canadian Nationals continue on? I mean, Alex had a great thing going there. I don't know what's out there, and I don't know how. We're not going to fix this one person one day. It's going to take a team of all the other tracks to work together and continue to try to grow Canadian oval track paved racing in Ontario for sure. But it is what it is, and we got to work together and try to keep the sport going the right direction.
Well, as you know from our meeting a couple weeks ago, working together is it was your first opportunity to work with the racetrack committee or association, the informal one that we put together. And I think that you saw the positive vibe from that. So I don't think, working together is not something that's not going to happen. I'm very confident in that. But getting back to Jukasa, I'll never forget our grand opening, August 27th, 2017. Like we spoke about earlier, Delaware relaunched this season. We worked day and night to get ready. So I can relate to what you guys are going through. And that's why I asked that question. For me, we're trying to get ready to open, and I was so afraid that we weren't going to be ready to go, but it all worked out, and we had our first ABC, I think it was the first ABC doubleheader, if I'm not mistaken, and it was surreal, to be honest. Even though I've been around the sport for a while, you're always afraid that you don't get everything done, and at the time, one of our co-founders, my buddy Kenny Hill, who unfortunately we lost earlier this year, he come up to me while I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off. He put his hands on my shoulder, and his hands are, the size of my shoulders. And he said, "How's it going?" And I said, "Good, just trying to finish this, trying to finish that. Think I'm running out of time." And he said, "Listen, if you need help, I'll send some help." But he gave me a big shake, and he said, "This place looks great. The only person that will know what you didn't get done is you." I'll never forget that. And it was a big lesson. And I think I even mentioned that to you, Luke, when you guys were getting ready to go at Delaware.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, I mean, you came in there on our first event this year was the July 1st weekend, and we were scrambling. You know how stressed I can get. And you came in, and I think you quoted him and said the exact same thing to me, and it's I'll never forget it as well.
I have one more thing. It was recently announced that the APC Late Model purse has increased, I think, by close to 50%. And now that, Alex doesn't have to agree to the increase with Jukasa not opening, I feel like I can ask you this question. I'm sure that the partnering racetracks that host the APC series have to agree to this increase because ultimately the increase is put on the speedways. But can you tell us how the proposal was received by everybody?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be transparent, and I reached out to the tracks and personally and said, guys, I really believe the series was at a do or die point. I mean, we have a great thing going. I think the big reason for the success of the series is the teams and the amount of teams and full car counts. And there's no doubt. I mean, you ask around, we're losing some guys this year, and we need to make sure that we got full car counts to keep the momentum of the series going. We had a great year in 2019. The plan was to increase the purse. Obviously, the pandemic happened, and we went to half purse in 2020. In 2021, we were very proud to pay the full purse like we did in 2019, along with the full points fund, which not a lot of people were doing. And we had a great year. And I reached out to the tracks and said, guys, we need to do something here. And, Brian and he right away said, yeah, I'm in. He gave me a bit of a hard time, of course, but Brian likes to bust my balls any chance he gets. And he said, yeah, we're in, Luke, we'll support racing. And I reached out to Jeff Cassidy and with Sabo, and he says, let me talk to Paul and I'll be back to you in 5 minutes. And he and Paul Gressel talked and they said, we're in, we get it, Luke. We need to keep the series going. It's good for all of us. And lastly, I called John. I talked to Alex, and Alex said we'll cross the bridge when we get to it. He agreed with what we were doing. He said he was in, if depending what happened. And I talked to John at Flamborough, and there was the joke. There's no way you're gonna, John's not gonna like this. And I think we all know John, and John has done so much for racing over all these years. And it took a couple of days, but John called me back yesterday, and it was I actually got off the phone and I called Alex and said it was a great conversation with John. He understood what we were trying to accomplish. And he said, I'm in, Luke. Let's keep this thing going the right way. It's good. We need these big events for the tracks. And I hope the tracks understand that we're not just looking out for the series best interest. We're trying to do what's in the best interest of the tracks as well. We are partners. There is no series without the tracks. There's no series without the teams. So we all have to work together in this. And I think it was the right time to do what we did. And I've got nothing but positive from the competitors. I met with another competitor this morning that has never run our series full time and has done a lot of Pinty's racing for a lot of years. And not that we're trying to take cars from any other division, but he may do more races than he was going to do before, type thing. So I think those are good signs of what's to come.
Absolutely. Luke, thank you for coming on with such short notice today. It's been a tough day with the announcement of Jukasa, but in my mind and from everything that I've seen and heard, motorsports is not only alive, but well here. And I really can't wait for next year.
Yeah, we're excited. I think motorsports is, I think we're in for an exciting year. I keep saying that I'm an optimistic person at heart, and I think this could be the biggest year we've had in racing in Ontario in a while. It's obviously sad with Jukasa. And I think that, for my buddy Alex there, he was head held high. That place was the place to be. And that was, I know he had a bunch of people helping him, but that was really his leadership and vision that made it such an incredible place. And, if things happen and the ownership group's got to do what they need to do in the best interest of them. But people always remember that Alex Nagy was the one that really got that place where it needed to be and the crown jewel back.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that. You're too kind. And by the way, the Brian that you talked about that's busting your balls is Brian from Sunset Speedway, so everybody knows.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure they're used to that. And
yeah.
Like you said, I didn't know at the time, but I agreed to the increase. I'd said to you before, I'm always for that. Anytime we can put money into the racers' pockets, I think it's a good thing. And also I agree with you, man. Our sport and Mark, our sport's in a good spot. We can't afford to lose any more speedways, and I don't think we will. Hopefully the ownership group is strong at all these other places. So, looking forward to 2022 to watch a bunch of racing, whatever type it is. And like Mark said, thanks for your time today. It's been great.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. It's always great to catch up with you guys.
And thanks, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Driver in Deep.
Well, we're wide open sideways.